Officially welcome in our Adrian Wojnarowski. Just from the Hawks' perspective, what went into deciding to bring him in and pair him with Trae Young?
Yeah, this has been a Hawks organization, I think as much as any in the league, that was just determined that they were going to make changes, they were going to get better. They gave up a lot. 3 first-round picks, 2 of their own, one they have via Charlotte, and also a pick swap in 2026 with San Antonio. But Trae Young was really excited about getting Dejounte Murray in. And this is a group that, listen, they want to be improved. He'll improve them certainly on both sides of the ball.
Dejounte Murray is an Atlanta Hawk. Now, as a Hawks fan, me being excited is a massive understatement. I mean, we're getting a 25-year-old two-way guard who just came off of his first All-Star appearance. And now we're pairing him up with one of the best young stars in the league, Trae Young. In my opinion, this trade is perfect. Now, I do believe that this trade has catapulted the Atlanta Hawks to that next level, but I also believe that this is the trade of the offseason. As far as fit and team needs, that is just what I believe. Now, before I get into why I believe that, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get right into it. Now, here's my reasoning as to why I believe that the Dejounte Murray trade to the Hawks is the trade of the offseason. The Hawks were one of the worst defensive teams in the league last year and had a whopping 113 defensive rating, which is well below league average and sat them at 26 in the league. And part of that was because of the lack of length and athleticism in the backcourt. I mean, it's no secret that Trae Young is one of the worst defenders in the NBA right now, and it's really hard to hide Trae Young on defense when you have Bogdanovic as his backcourt partner. So what did the Hawks go out and do to fix that? They went out and got a guy who led the league in steals and arguably should have made an all-defensive team last year. I just feel like Dejounte Murray is the perfect guard to pair Trae Young up with defensively. Trae Young can guard the Steph Currys and the Kyrie Irvings and the Damian Lillards of the world. I mean, he's quick, he's aggressive, he has the length, he's athletic to stay in front of a lot of guards in the NBA. And I feel like the Hawks can use him as a very versatile defender, as opposed to when they had Bogdanovic, who wasn't a great defender and couldn't do the things that Dejounte Murray is capable of doing. And I believe that Dejounte Murray, while not having to play on ball for 100% of the time like he had to in San Antonio, I do believe that he'll become better defensively. I mean, he'll have more energy on that end, and I feel like he can really tap into his defensive potential. I mean, in San Antonio, he always had the ball in his hands and he always had to exert all that energy on the offensive end, leaving him with not a lot of energy on the defensive end. But now in Atlanta, he really doesn't have to worry about that anymore, because he won't have the ball in his hands that much and he won't be asked to do that much on the offensive end. And that leads me to the next section, which is the offensive end. Now, yes, I know that Dejounte Murray isn't the best outside shooter, but let me tell you guys why I believe that he'll work out just fine. On catch and shoot attempts, Dejounte Murray shoots 36% from 3-point range. That's pretty good, and that's actually league average. And that's only on 2 attempted threes a game. Now, when he takes 1 dribble into his shot, it actually goes up to 37%. So I believe that he's a more than capable 3-point shooter on catch and shoot attempts. And I don't think he'll be a huge liability on the offensive end without the ball like everyone thinks he will be. And on the offensive end, here's where I believe that Dejounte Murray will be the most dangerous. I think that he'll be the most dangerous as a cutter in the half court and on fast breaks. I mean, I've seen Dejounte Murray completely blow by guys off the ball and then dunk it. And with Trae Young as the playmaker, I think we'll see a lot of that. I mean, Trae Young is one of the best playmakers in the league as far as finding open guys and cutters, and I do believe that that'll mesh well with Dejounte Murray's style. Now, one of the other main things that people point out about this trade is how will he fit well with Nate McMillan's system. Now, I will say that Nate McMillan is a very old school coach, but I believe that that will work well with Dejounte Murray's style. I mean, the pick and rolls, the off ball cutting, I think that that will fit well. I mean, Nate McMillan has shown in the past that he can take a team and adapt to the players around him and make it work. Now, looking back at the trade and looking who they gave up to get Dejounte Murray, I really feel as though it was a great deal for the Hawks. Now, I'm not really a big fan of holding on to picks and missing out on players when your team is more than capable of competing. I feel as though to become a great team, you will have to sacrifice some draft capital and you will have to go out and get stars, especially when you're the Hawks, who are notorious for not really playing their late to mid draft picks. I mean, I feel like going out and getting a guy like Dejounte Murray would move the needle for the Hawks more than it would if they went and got a mid to late first round guy. And now looking at the player that the Hawks gave up, they gave up an aging Danilo Gallinari, who when he was on the court didn't really have a big impact on the game, and he was also losing minutes in the rotation. Now comparing this trade to another one that happened this offseason between the Jazz and the Timberwolves, I think that this trade was a lot better. I mean, as far as fit and name value, it was a good trade for the Timberwolves, but I do feel as though they gave up way too much to get Rudy Gobert. I mean, they gave up 4 first rounders, but on top of that, they gave up 3 key players in their rotation. I mean, they gave up Patrick Beverley, who was easily their best perimeter defender. They gave up Malik Beasley, who gave them great depth at the point guard position, and also gave up the heart and soul of their team, Jared Vanderbilt. Now, yes, I remember what I said about competing teams giving up picks to get other players, but I feel as though the players that the Timberwolves gave up was just way too much, whereas the Hawks only gave up 3 first rounders and an aging player who was barely in the rotation. Now, as far as name value, yes, the Gobert trade would be the more eye-popping trade, but as far as the trade that fits and the trade that makes the most sense, I feel as though the Hawks trade was the one that made more sense. Now, moving on to my last point as to why I believe that this was the trade of the offseason, I also feel as though this trade moves the needle for this team more than any other team in the NBA. I mean, the Hawks just last season finished as the 5th seed, and that was with the defense being just as bad as it was this year. I mean, imagine adding Dejounte Murray to that team with a way more improved Trae Young and just overall way more improved roster. There's no telling where the Hawks ceiling is. And yes, this season I know they underperformed heavily, but you do have to include context. Injuries play a huge part in that. I mean, John Collins, who you could argue is their second best player, missed majority of the season. And yes, I know it's one player, but that's an extremely important piece, and you simply just can't ignore it. And that's why I believe that Dejounte Murray to the Atlanta Hawks was the trade of the offseason. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. More videos like this on the way. My Discord and social media links will be down below in the description. And as always, be safe and peace.